Hello, everybody. Well, today we're going to talk about conflict. In particular, in relation to some of the aspects of working in an organization. This could also go to the personal life as well. But there tends to be an escalating increase in the number of conflicts that we seem to have, whether it's watching TV or seeing the news and you constantly hear people apologize. I apologize for this statement or that statement. There seems to be some issues with interactions and just collaborating. So we call that all under the umbrella of conflict. But in general, what we're really talking about is how best can we get along with everybody. So here's a couple strategies I think may work in a situation that may be challenging. First is, I call it the blue sky, green sky. And what it really means is you've got to find somebody who's reasonable and rational. You can't argue or try to resolve an issue with somebody who's not reasonable, rational. The green sky, blue sky, if you told somebody outside, hey, this is a great blue sky, and they said, no, it's green. And you're like, wait a minute, everybody knows it's a blue sky. Nope, it's green. You've lost right from the get-go. This person is not reasonable and rational, and there's just no way that you're going to be able to resolve the issue. That's what I mean by blue sky, green sky. So you have to find somebody who's at least willing to converse with you, willing to listen to logic, willing to listen to statistics. There's some people, oh, that's not true. Well, what statistic do you have? Well, that's what you're saying is just not true. So they're just not going to listen to your argument. At that point, you might as well just stop it at the first stage. So that's what we mean. First, you got to find somebody who's reasonable, rational, in order to have this kind of collaborative attempt and to reduce conflict as much as possible. Two is you got to be nice. I talk about nice so much, but it's so important. We know that conflict's an emotion. For the most part, it's a battle that people have or groups have, and it's often emotional. And when we learn about conflict, we learn that one of the more challenging things to ever do is to resolve issues of emotion. And sometimes people say it's almost impossible. Politics is emotion. Religion is emotional. Morals is emotional. Those are emotional discussions that you're going to have. So if you can be nice, it really disarms so much of that emotion. People have a hard time being challenging or rude to somebody who's just a nice person. That's why they tell people who work in customer service, one of the first things they say is make sure you apologize early and often, because it disarms the customer. Two is be nice. Three is to find something, anything to agree on. As easy as I see your point there, that's a good point. I can't argue that point. Or, wow, I never thought of it that way. I may have to give me a couple seconds to think about it, but that's a really good point. Or, on this issue, you're just right. You're right on this particular component of the issue. I can't argue with that, and I have to give you that. It builds up their confidence. They feel like you're listening to them. It's one of the most disarming things that you can do. The first three are the most important. The last one is, if you've went through the first three and you can't resolve the issue, you just may have an issue that you can't resolve. It could be as easy as you're a Democrat and they're Republican. You're trying to convince them to vote Democrat. And even though you have the solid logic and everything, it's just not going to happen. That's okay. Because at least you haven't created a conflict between individuals. The conflict remains between the issue. And sometimes you can't resolve the issue, but you don't want to exacerbate the conflict between individuals. Again, very important point. You could have done everything right, but not resolved the issue. And in some ways, that's okay. Sometimes you're just not going to convince people by your logic that you're right and they should do what you say. But at least you won't make an issue between people much worse. And that way you may be able to resolve any kind of conflicts or issues in the future. So again, make sure the person is reasonable, rational. Second, be nice. And third, try to find something, anything to agree upon before you actually say what your decision is. That's so disarming. The second and third ones are really disarming. And that's what we're trying to do. De-escalate the conflict before we move in to make a recommended resolution. Hope that helps. Whether it's with working in a new organization, working with new employees, new supervisors, existing employees, diversities, whatever it may be, This is a diversities of background, diversities of perspectives. All of those can cause conflict. Here's hopefully some ideas about how to resolve them and address them. Thanks. Have a great day, everybody.